The opening scene features Ray Bradstone, an imprisoned guy, on the phone with a woman. Another prisoner enters at the same time and interrupts the chat. Ray tries to avoid confrontations, but when the prisoner continues to blabber, he takes action. He knocks him unconscious with a single punch to the face. Ray is finally released from prison after fulfilling his 7-year sentence. Before departing, he gives the prison warden some books he's been reading. Soon after, a man named Philip LaRue appears in his fine car and invites Ray to a bank robbery. It is revealed that Philip was his collaborator in the earlier crimes he committed. Philip tries to persuade him to join him in another robbery, offering him a ride in his car. In the process, Ray stops upon hearing this and expresses his desire to drive the car. Philip believes Ray to be persuaded, so he allows him to assume the driver's seat. But Ray drives away, abandoning him. When he returns to his residence, he repeatedly looks at a photograph of his wife and daughter in the hopes of seeing them soon. After a lengthy prison sentence, he now resolves to become a better person and abandon his bad habits. Ray visits his wife Lynn Bradstone and daughter Sally Bradstone the following day. Lynn has a negative reaction and expresses that she does not wish to be with him despite the fact that she has not seen him in a long time. She considers him irresponsible and unreliable due to his inability to fulfill his responsibilities as a husband and father. Sally returns from school during their conversation, and, like her mother, she is bothered by his presence. The mother and daughter then enter the house and shut the door behind him. The following day, Ray apologizes to Sally at her school, but she is still disappointed. He tries to persuade her that he has improved and will always be by her side in the future. However, she does not believe him and departs indifferently. Soon after, Ray hears the sound of boys, and when he arrives, he sees a group of schoolboys fighting. He divides the boys quickly and hands them over to the principal. Miss Miller, Sally's teacher, approaches him at that moment. The three introduce one another. Miss Miller, impressed by his eloquence, invites him to accompany them as a chaperone on a museum tour the following week. Ray agrees immediately, believing it to be an excellent opportunity for him to bond with Sally. Later in the evening, Philip returns to Ray to request his participation in the robbery. However, similar to the last time, Ray declines. It turns out that Philip betrayed him in the past, and this is why Ray ended up in prison. The next day, Ray pays Lynn a second visit, but this time he meets her new husband. The two kiss in front of him, which upsets him. After some time, Ray tries once more to convince her that he will make family happy. However, Lynn claims that he will be unable to make any changes because he is currently unemployed. Ray, realizing he needs money, visits several organizations in search of employment, but his application is rejected almost immediately due to his criminal record. His bad day is compounded by the discovery that his apartment is on fire. Ray reluctantly decides to join Philip's team in their plan to rob a bank because he has nothing else to do. In the following scene, Ray, Philip, and two additional accomplices are seen driving toward the bank. On the way, Goldie won't stop babbling, so Ray explains that the only aspect of prison he enjoyed was being away from them all. When they arrive at their destination, Philip, the other two, and Ray don masks and break into the back, while Ray is instructed to wait in the car. Ray observes Sally and her classmates boarding the bus for the museum tour while waiting. Then, he recalls the enjoyable times he spent with her in the past. These pleasant recollections convince him that what he is doing is wrong, so he exits the vehicle, tosses the keys into the bushes, and walks away. After this, he boards the bus with the students and serves as the trip's chaperone. When Sally observes him, she becomes angry and orders him to leave. However, he disregards her, fearing that he will lose his daughter forever if he leaves. Philip and the gang, on the other hand, rob the bank and rush to the car with the loot, only to discover that Ray has left and the car keys are missing. In an effort to avoid takedown, they are forced to flee. However, Dale runs in the direction of the school bus, causing him to trip and drop the money bag. Fearful of being apprehended, he abandons the bag and flees. But after a while, he is arrested by police and taken away. In the meantime, Philip and Goldie take a car to flee, and while driving, they detect Ray on the school bus. Infuriated by the betrayal, they pursue him, but to their misfortune, they are hit by a truck. Philip then contacts the school and is able to obtain information regarding where the school bus is headed. Soon after Dale regains consciousness and arrives at the hospital, he is confronted by two police officers who demand details on the entire robbery. Following the interrogation, the police discover that the money bag is in a nearby school bus. Ray and the students finally arrive at the museum in the following scene. However, they discovered that the tour guide who was supposed to accompany them had fallen ill. Ray, unhappy to allow his daughter to become bored, volunteers to show students around the museum. Since he has read numerous books in prison, he appears to be knowledgeable about museums and animals. Ray sees Philip and Goldie in the museum while he is dealing with the students, so he instructs them to hurry back to the school bus. In addition, he activates the fire alarm, prompting all visitors to evacuate the building. After this, he confronts the two in the restroom when no one is looking and beats them up. Then he explains that he has changed his mind and no longer desires their collaboration. Following this rage, the students continue their study tour to the next location. After they reach their destination, he awaits their departure before searching the bus's trunk. Surprisingly, he discovers the money-filled bag. Initially, greed enters his mind, and he considers keeping it. However, he soon thinks about his family and decides to return the money to put an end to this ordeal. He calls Philip, who is standing across the street, and carries a money bag towards them. At the same time, however, the police arrive, prompting the criminals to flee. Philip and Goldie suspect that Ray set them up, so they decide to enlist the aid of a Mexican mafia gang in order to apprehend Ray. The same afternoon, Ray and the other students check into their hotel, where Miss Miller instructs them to settle in quietly. Ray immediately takes the money bag and enters his room upon their arrival. He then calls Philip and requests that he can pick up the money from the hotel where he is staying. However, Philip, who believes Ray had betrayed him, demands that the money be delivered to a more secure and concealed location. Sally arrives as Ray continues speaking and apologizes for giving him a hard time. The father and daughter then have a happy reunion. After a long evening apart, he brings her to a music store and then a restaurant. This allows them to begin reconciling their differences. Several detectives arrive at the hotel and question Miss Miller regarding the whereabouts of Ray. In addition, they inform her that Ray is a suspect in the bank robbery case, which terrifies her. Later, Ray walks Sally to her hotel and suggests that she spend time with her friends, especially Josh, who appears to like her. Sally returns home joyfully after spending time with her father, but her happiness is short-lived when she learns that Ray has been charged with robbery. She confronts him immediately, claiming that it was a mistake to trust him again. But Ray is not willing to give up so easily on his daughter. Sally is finally calmed after he informs her of everything that is occurring. In the meantime, he observes the nearby detectives and realizes he is a target. Therefore, he asks Sally to retrieve the money bag from his room. Ray asks her to join her friends while he returns the money after obtaining the bag. Unfortunately, Philip and Goldie kidnap Sally as she begins to walk back to her home. When Ray arrives at the designated location, he discovers 3 Mexican gang members. Infuriated that he was set up, he unleashes a severe punishment and quickly defeats the 3 opponents. He then receives a phone call from Philip, who informs him that his daughter has been abducted. Ray warns him that if he harms Sally, it will end badly. Philip, however, is unfazed and instead summons Ray to a secret location to conduct the exchange. Ray immediately hails a taxi and travels to the specified location. Before exiting, he hands the taxi driver some cash, instructing him to leave as soon as Sally enters the vehicle. Sally successfully escapes and returns to the hotel with her friends, per the plan. However, upon realizing that her father is in danger, she decides to assist him. She enlists the aid of Josh, Simon, and Benny, 3 of her male friends. Simon uses his iPad to track her father's phone, while Benny distracts the detectives with fireworks, enabling them to escape the hotel undetected. In contrast, Philip and Goldie restrain Ray in a chair because he deceived them with a fake bag containing dolls. Ray remains silent as Philip beats him and demands the location of the money bag. A few moments later, Sally and her friends arrive at the scene and divide into 2 teams, one of which uses firecrackers to distract the criminals while the other unties Ray. Ray contacts an acquaintance, a radio announcer who broadcasts the voice recordings live. Amidst all of this, Lynn and the police eventually hear the communication and rush to the crime scene. Almost immediately thereafter, Philip and Goldie hold Ray and the students at gunpoint. Philip, unaware that their conversation is being recorded, freely acknowledges that Ray is completely innocent and that they only sought to exploit him. The 2 criminals are about to shoot them all when police arrive and arrest them. Ray is declared innocent because he was on the school bus with the other students during the robbery. Lynn arrives shortly thereafter and is relieved to discover that her daughter is safe, but she slapped her ex-husband for endangering the children's lives. Ray does not react and merely states that he has become a better person. In the closing scene, while at the radio station, Ray receives a call from Philip requesting guidance on how to adjust to life in prison. Ray describes the 3 fundamentals: confront it, be honest, and sleep with the sack propped up against the wall. How did you like this story? If you want more stories like this, visit our channel.